week and haven't been able to. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in and get it done. Couple of points, information that I've been able to find out related to the whole Travis Scott thing. Um, Obviously, I'm not a fan. I don't know his music. I don't. It's not my kind of music, right? It's not. I mean, I'm an old lady, so. But that being said, um, there are some historical things about this story that are really getting lost in the mix. And part of me thinks that it is intentional, um, because this, we're all horrified at the loss of life. We're horrified at parents that thought, yeah, taking a 9-year old to a big multi rap group concert, 2-day long event, that's perfectly appropriate. No, it's not. And I think that's where we are ending up in this country, having so many of these crazy tragedies play out, is we've forgotten how to set boundaries. As parents and as adults, we are not setting healthy boundaries to keep our kids safe. Fences are not all about keeping people in. Sometimes fences are there to keep the bad guys out. And we're not doing that anymore. We're not setting limits anymore for our kids. And we really must. Kids need time to mature and grow and experience things and develop appropriate coping skills, effective coping skills for the next developmental stage that they go through. And we're just not doing that. People, it's like we've got 30-year-old adults whose own developmental level is around 15 or 16, and then they have kids. And so even though their kids, might be 9, 10 years old, this 30-year-old man or woman is treating this little 9-year-old like an equal, and carrying them to rap concerts and giving them weed to smoke. And I see it every day. We're losing sight of the awareness that children are in fact children because they lack experience. They don't know how to problem solve. Their brains are not completely formed and able to assess a situation and come up with, this is safe, this is not safe, this is a good idea, this is a bad idea. In fact, the human brain continues to grow and mature till about the age of 21 to 23, depending on if you're male or female, which is why we got a lot of teenagers that do really dumb things, because their frontal lobe is not finished growing. So we gotta pull this deal that happened at Astroworld has been developing over time, and you'll find that out. It's been developing over time. The culture, the changes in our culture reflect that we're simply not being parents anymore. Our kids are being left to raise themselves. Sometimes our 12, 13, 14-year-old kids are the most mature people in a house. There is a sobering thought, right? So as the adults have continued to embrace their teenage, college, party all the time, that is, if you're intoxicated and partying all the time, you are leaving a serious void in the lives of your children, where they are not being taught structure and they are not being taught appropriate and effective coping skills for managing the demands in life. We've got to check ourselves and say, could I do better in my home, with my family, with my kids? Could I do a little bit better? So I want to go through a couple of things. This Travis Scott deal was a huge deal. It's been a huge deal in Houston. Started in 2018, and it sort of took everything by storm. And it was disingenuous. It wasn't really honest. He grew up in Houston. He had very fond memories of Astroworld and going as a kid and riding the roller coasters and playing the games, and doing all that. And so when Astroworld closed and kind of sold off all the parts around the state to different theme parks, um, he that was a loss in his childhood. So then he goes along and he somehow becomes some big rap star, and I don't get it because there's ask me if I understand why Beyonce is legendary. I get it. She's good. Um, there's other rappers. I don't like rap, but you can hear the tone in their voice. You can hear their lyrics, and you think, yeah, there's talent, definite talent. I don't know. It just seems like with Travis Scott, it's kind of seems like his music is always synthesized, right? His voice, it's never a pure voice. I don't know. Maybe it's the showmanship. Maybe he's legendary because he puts on these crazy, off the hook shows. But I don't know. I wouldn't say that he's Drake, right? I wouldn't say that he's got, that he's a true musician or like Kanye West, right? I like some of his music. He's got a pretty voice. Um, but there's something about him. While he's mediocre at best, he puts on these crazy light shows, and he's attracted a dramatic following. Like it's huge. It's like a Michael Jackson kind of a following. And so he put out in 2018. He, along with the power structure in Houston, which is Judge Lena Hidalgo and Mayor Svester, he, that he was going to bring back Astroworld, that he was going to go to Astroworld and put on this big concert. And there were somebody said, will there be rides? Right. And he said, oh yeah, it's going to be rides. Well, they didn't bring back any rides. That wasn't true. That was false. There was a Ferris wheel that was brought in, like a carnival Ferris wheel, but you couldn't ride it. It was there like a decoration kind of thing. So the whole thing was from the beginning, 2018. It was just a problem. Now that here is a critical part of this, and I don't really understand why it. Well, I do understand why, but nobody's talking about this, and this is a reality. The county between Harris County and the city of Houston and the state of Texas and the producers, the production company for Live Nation and Travis Scott, Drake, a couple other performers, they're all now pointing the finger at one another, right? They're all backing off. They're all crawling under rocks and pointing the finger. One of the most egregious things is the political people that have been involved in this. Now, the politics were huge in Houston, even as far back as 2018. The mayor and all his people, the chief of police, not the one that's there now. This was a different guy. They all wanted to be associated with Drake and Travis Scott. They all wanted to be in on this. They pushed it like this was the city of Houston that was bringing the show and how awesome they were, blah, blah, blah. Now, the actual permitting was done through the county because they're the ones that actually hold the lease to the Astroworld property. As soon as this thing happened, the politicians disappeared. They're gone. Poof, into thin air. You can't find them anywhere. Okay. Now, Houston has been deteriorating rapidly in terms of violent crime. The young people in Houston are out of control. You guys have heard some of the stories about children here in this area that have been killed at the hands of their parents, and their parents are these young 20-somethings, and they're so whacked out on different drugs And then these kids end up dying, and people act surprised. Well, why, is a little kid dead? Well, because you're messed up on drugs, and you were sick, and you got mad and hauled off and hit the kid over the head, and he died because he's a kid. So, things are bad in terms of city management and county management. Things are as bad as it can be. I've never seen it this bad. It is, you're taking your life in your hands when you drive downtown because of these young people, young men with road rage. You've never seen anything like it. I don't know if it's a certain drug that they're using that's making their anger out of control, but it is incredible. It is terrifying, the amount of road rage episodes that are happening that end up with somebody getting shot. It is the most incredible thing you've ever seen. So anyway, back to this whole Travis Scott thing. In 2018, they did the same thing. They got a group of people together, artists together, to come and sing and put on this big, day. It was all Saturday and Sunday, I think, at that time. And what ended up happening, the tickets ended up selling out in record time, right? So the tickets go on sale, and I believe maybe they were sold out. They sold out like 40,000 tickets in a couple hours, and they were sold out, gone, right? So the day of the concert comes, and there's a problem with the ticket sales, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But anyway, the day of the concert comes, and the people with legitimate tickets, they go and they get in line, and they're, going through security to get inside the fairgrounds. And there is a large group that target a back fence. There's no security over there. It's like nothing's there. And in record time, the fence was down, and the mass of people that just spilled over into the fairgrounds where the concert was going to be going. It's just like a wave of people. Exactly what Biden had. Well, exactly what's happening down at the border with undocumented people coming up from Mexico, Central America, South America. Just waves, just thousands and thousands of people pouring in over the fence. And of course, once the fence broke, then they got on their phones and told their friends, "Hey man, you got to come down. You're going to be able to get in the park, no problem, and you'll be able to hear the concert." And so they ended up with 110,000 people, something like that. So it was bad. And there were people that overdosed, and there were people that got alcohol poisoning. And those are things that you expect with a concert, right? There's always going to be those people that use too much of whatever their favorite, intoxicant is. There were those problems. And then there was this problem of them tearing down the fence. And then you had tens of thousands of kids come pouring over into the concert. And even though you had 40,000 people that paid for tickets, the number was at least doubled by the number of people that came over the fence, right? That's 2018. In 2019, they went up on the number of ticket sales. That was when they went up to like 50,000, maybe 60,000. And the chief of police said, no, we got it all taken care of. We got the fences are all, in good shape. We got everything backed up. We got everything good. Well, guess what ends up happening? Somehow, miraculously, this same group type of kids end up finding another fenced-in area on the backside. No security, no police, nobody watching. Literally push the fence over. No trouble, and you get thousands of people come pouring in. Same thing, 2019. And in 2019, They actually did have some people that were hurt in the in front of the stage, but they were at the very front of the stage, right? They had all these thousands of people behind them pushing them. They got hurt at the front of the stage, and security was there and pulled them out, and nobody was killed, right? Well, and so this year, nobody even, when they broke through the security gates and they came pouring in like, I don't even know what, rats trying to jump off of a sinking ship, right? They just a wave of people just breaking through, and they all come running in, and everybody's like, well, that's not surprising. Why are the police on TV saying, oh, we had this terrible event and we don't know how they broke through? They've broken through every single year, almost like someone told them how to do it, almost like it was planned, almost like the fire marshal said, you can't have more than 50,000 people in that particular space, the number of acres that you have available. You cannot break capacity. No more than 50,000 people. That's it. No more. And so what does Travis Scott do? Oh, well, it'd be a real shame if people couldn't get tickets, but they still wanted to go, and they found a way in. And so in 2019, you ended up with 120,000 people at a concert that the fire marshal said could only be 50,000 people. Think about that. Now, let me give you a comparison. The Magic Kingdom, which is in Disney World in Florida. Hold on just a minute. Okay, want to make sure that I got my numbers right. Okay, so the Magic Kingdom in Disney World, I don't know how many of you guys have ever been there, but a Magic Kingdom at capacity, that's a special hell on earth. Trust me. It is packed wall to wall with people. Okay? It's unbelievable. Now, the requirements for the Magic Kingdom, that is 142 acres of now, and that's area where you can walk, right? That doesn't count like where the buildings and stuff are. So that's capacity, 142 people capacity. They cannot put more than 90,000 people at a time in that 142 acres. This is only the Magic Kingdom. This is not Epcot and MGM and all the others. Just the Magic Kingdom where the castle is, right? 90,000, that's the cutoff. And when their tickers get to 90,000, they shut everything down and people wait outside for a family of 5 to leave, and then they let 5 more come in. I mean, it can be that bad during peak times, okay? By comparison, guess how many acres is the location where the Travis Scott concerts are being held at the Astroworld facility? It's a little bit gray. There's a gray number there, but I did it a couple different ways and I got close. It seems like it's around 47 or 48 acres, right? And the Houston Fire Department is saying, okay, so with your 48 acres, you can't have more than 50,000 people. That's all the tickets that we're going to let you sell, 50, 60. It was different in one of the other years. On 2019, I think they let them sell 60,000. But anyway, this year it was 50,000, right? Well, if you do the math, that 142 acres of 90,000, right? Then 45 acres should have been capacity at about 35,000, right? So think about in your mind 48 acres where you've got over 100,000 people. Even if you have the 50,000, that's still more crowded, appreciably more crowded than the Magic Kingdom when it's at full capacity. It's crazy to think about. So I'm wondering if the taking down the barriers, the fencing, and the this group, because it's thousands that come pouring over, right? Um, I mean, look, they how do I once they get in, then it's impossible to know who has tickets and who doesn't, right? You can bet, you can bet that those that break down the barriers are also going to be those that get into the area close to the stage. They're going to be the ones that push and push and push to try to get down to the front of the stage, right? So it's been that 2018 was the best one in terms of fewer people being hurt. 2019 was a disaster. 2019 was a disaster. When that fence went down and the place filled up with these basically, thugs, hoodlums, the normal people got scared and they left the concert. And they were on TV and they were saying, yeah, it was bad. It was scary. It was, won't go again. So then the same thing happens again this year where they sell their tickets, they sell out, there's no more to be had. And then magically, the day of the concert, they find a weak space in the fencing and they all come in anyway. There was some other problems there this year that were not there last year, or not last year, 2019, 2018. And that was the way that the stage was designed. The stage was designed in a way that was inherently dangerous if you were in a crowd that was packed in like sardines, because it was a bottleneck on two sides. It wasn't just one bottleneck, it was two bottlenecks. And if you happened to be one of those that was anywhere inside that bottleneck, not just up at the stage close to Travis, the majority of the death and the serious critical injuries actually happened at the back, further away from the stage. Now, that's not what you're hearing, is it? The narrative that everybody's got going on is that, oh, if you were standing at the front, then people saw Travis, they got excited, and then they pushed forward to get closer to him, and then those people got crushed. That's the narrative that you're hearing. But when you look at where the people were standing that got hurt the worst, there were more of them standing at the back than there were standing up at the front by the stage, which is pretty shocking, right? 50,000 people in one medical tent. There was one medical tent. And it wasn't 50,000 people, Angelina Marie. In 2019, they ended up estimating, the helicopters in the sky, they ended up estimating there were at least 105,000 people in an area that was 48 acres. That's incredible. And there were people that I know of, people in my family, there were people I know of that were there and they left because they sensed the danger. They said, something is going on here. This is something bad is happening here. right? Okay. So, yeah, why spend $400 for a ticket? Just follow the crowd breaking down the damn fencing. Then you go in for free, right? Okay. Now, so I cannot say this enough. You got 140, what was it? What did I say? 142 acres at Magic Kingdom, and the capacity is 90,000. At Astroworld with Travis Scott, they've got about 47 or 48 acres. And in truth, at 35,000, you would have been uncomfortable. At 35,000, you would have been like, "Oh my God, there are so many people here. I can't stand this." But they oversold to 50,000 tickets, and then they broke down the barriers. And like I said, the 2019 said there were over 100,000 people there. So I don't know how many came in this time. I guess sooner or later that information will come out. But we're definitely way over the capacity of 48 acres. They just couldn't hold the people. So the danger was built in to the whole thing. The danger was, think about a door that's locked, and you got one person that's pushing against the door to try to open it, and they'll never move it. But you get 5, 6, 7, 10 pushing into the door, you may break the door off the hinges, right? And unfortunately, it is human bones that break. Now, there's been a lot of focus on what Travis Scott, his culpability, and the mayor of Houston and the county judge, and the culpability that these people hold for a venue like this that was completely unsafe, totally and completely unsafe. There's been a lot of talk about that, but again, I want to talk about this idea that as parents, if you abandon your role in setting limits, setting boundaries, teaching your kids that there are limits to what you can do, that there are rules for basic humanity that you have to follow, what kind of kid are you raising? If you're not teaching your children that there are limits, that it's not all about you, that you do have to have care and consideration for other people, what kind of child are you raising? Well, you don't have to wait until your child is 30 years old to find out. All you guys do is send them to a Travis Scott concert and see, is your kid one of the children that will walk over the backs of someone that's lying on the ground? Think about it. And you say, "Oh, that's so unfair, Jules. You shouldn't say that. It's so unfair. You can't hold 50,000, 100,000 people responsible for the death of 8 people, or now 9 people now." I'm not holding them responsible for the deaths of 9 people. It's not 9 dead people. There's at least 10 dead people, because at least one of those people that are in the ICU today is in an induced coma because they have no brain activity. Essentially, they haven't yet been declared brain dead, but they probably will be. There are 9 others that are in ICU units around Houston that are critically, deathly ill right now. How's that for sobering? As of last Tuesday, there were just over 30 people that were remaining hospitalized. They weren't in critical condition, and they weren't like in a life-threatening condition, but like their femur was broken in half, or their back was broken, or they had a terrible concussion, or they had internal injuries and they were still healing from that. 30. This was a war zone. This wasn't 8 dead concert people. That's not what this was. This was a mass casualty event. So it is. I feel like for me, it almost minimizes the catastrophe of what happened, the reality of what happened. It minimizes it by saying, "Oh well, it's such a shame 9 people died." Yeah, I'm with you. That's a shame. But you got 9 more in ICU that could be dead before it's all over with. That means we're almost at 20 dead people. And then you want to add in the other 30 people that remain hospitalized a week after they've been hurt. Do you know how sick you got to be be able to stay in a hospital for a week in this day and age? You're bad off if you're in a hospital a week. This was devastating. The number of first responders that are managing trauma symptoms is unbelievable. There are parents calling all over Houston, Texas, looking for trauma therapists for their kids and their young people that were there. This is enormous. Okay, this is enormous. The number of lawsuits are sitting at somewhere like 100 and maybe 109, maybe. Trayvon Martin, you know the attorney that was Trayvon Martin's parents' attorney? He's handling like 90 of those lawsuits. And more are coming every day. Remember, you still got parents, you still got family members of people that are hospitalized that are dealing with trauma, and they're not ready yet to think about an attorney, but they will be. It's coming. And so then you have to ask yourself, well, what about Travis Scot and Drake and Kylie Jenner? Like, how are they managing this? I mean, if it's a mass casualty event, it's huge and it's such a crazy thing. How are they doing? How are they, dealing with it? Well, I have it on good authority that Kylie Jenner packed up her black limos last night out of Travis Scott's $14 million Houston mansion in the energy corridor and left on a private jet with her baby and all of her things. So when she left, Travis was pacing out in the yard. So she loaded up something like 4 or 5 cars full of suitcases and boxes. She gone. She left him. There's no doubt she left him. Why would you have to pack up like 3, 4, 5 cars? Right? So sometime in the middle of the night, she left, and he's now beginning to really feel the effects, according to what may or may not be a neighbor that watched it all unfold out their window. Okay? So Drake is in trouble too. But his approach has been, she's gone hybrid. She left last night, Friday night. She left Friday night in the middle of the night, gone. Pew! She's like 4 o'clock in the morning, loaded up, had a private jet waiting on her, gone. So Drake chose to handle it in a little bit different fashion, I think, than Travis, and I think that may be why things don't look so bleak for Drake. I think it's bleak. Don't get me wrong. I think it's bad. But I think Travis, I said, about a week ago that I thought his career was over, that this would be it. And I do believe this is it. I do. I don't see how he's going to come out of it. Okay. 1 minute. Okay. Now then, let me get this. I want to show some video here. Hold on. Right here. Oh, no. That's not the one I want to share. Hold on. All right. Okay, so this is the introduction as yep, right back over here. Okay, so this is the introduction as Drake is preparing to come on stage and join Travis Scott. And this was very interesting because it seems that this is about the time that the problems began, right? So there were problems happening before the EMTs began to call attention to it. But the people in the audience, this is when they talk about what they were doing and what was happening, who was on stage, about the time that the really bad pushing and being the crowd getting tighter and tighter. This is about where it started. So just watch this for a minute.
Houston, you know what? Houston, I want to see the motherfucking rage. Houston, I want to see the motherfucking rage. And Chase B, I know what's going to give it, Chase B. Let's do it. Oh, my God.
Okay, so he says, Houston, I want to see the rage. Houston, I want to see the rage. And Chase B, I want to see it right now. Let me see it. Okay, so he's calling those factions, his so-called, true blue diehard fans, he's signaling to them what it's time to do, which is to create this surge. And that is apparently what the fans call it. I mean, it's a phenomenon at his concerts that appear to be talked about. You can listen to interviews and such on YouTube and see people saying, there it is. There's surge. Watch. And I was warned to stay out of the crowd. I was warned. So it's obviously a thing. And this guy is calling for it right here. He's calling for it. He wants them to do it.
Houston, Texas.
I gotta feed the streets. Who's gonna pay the streets? Ski bands on my face. So let the data cheat.
And that's Drake coming up.
Let's go.
Now, what is very interesting about Drake is that Drake is a much beloved celebrity in Houston. he goes to all of the big sporting events. He's a big Rockets fan. He's at the Astros game. He's well loved, and you'll see him. He'll go to the games right by himself. Well, I mean, he's got his driver and everything, but he parks in the protected parking. My daughter and I had gone to something. I don't remember. Oh, it was the final. Maybe it was a Final Four. I don't remember. We had gone to something, and when we left, she grabbed me. She said, "Oh my God, Mom! Oh my God, that's Drake!" And we ended up actually walking out to our car, like walking right next to Drake. And he turned around, looked at her, and smiled, and said, "Hey, how you doing?" And she didn't say anything because she was starstruck. But the point is, he's well loved. He's seen around town often. People don't crowd around him. He's a kind of down to earth kind of guy, right? And he says in this thing that he hasn't been on a stage in like 3 years, something like that. And he says, it's awesome to be here with Travis. So I don't know. It's weird to me that he's not really done a lot of this type of performing, and then he chooses to do this. I don't know what it's about. It's kind of weird to me, though.
Like a blood flip off. Oh, Houston, left side. Oh, Houston, right side. You 21. I want to hear you. Talk to me.
Now he says, "You're 21. Talk to me. I want to hear it." The problem is around Houston, they were advertising that this was a family-friendly show for all ages. Yeah. In fact, it was a family-friendly show for all ages, and McDonald's in their Happy Meals was giving out Travis Scott figurines. Isn't it crazy? It's crazy. How many parents took their kids to this thing thinking there were going to be roller coasters? Thinking, oh, he's opening up Astroworld. It's crazy. Okay, so they said, oh, we cut all the cussing out. Well, you could clearly hear, no, they didn't. Okay, how are you going to do rap and not cuss? That's impossible. So look, there was a lot of disingenuous. It's fraud. I hate to use the F word, but it is. They made claims in commercials that are simply not true. And there's so much evidence that it's not true. Because look, you see, it's a sea of phones recording what happened. Right? It's really crazy. Now then, so Drake, so this was the beginning. This was the beginning. Remember, you see that crazy laser stuff, right? Can you imagine being there? That crazy laser stuff, and with the binaural sounds, the high unusual frequencies, they were trying to make people crazy. Look at that stage right there. Let's see. So they go on, and they're doing their thing, and they've got people on. Now Drake leaves the stage, and inside all of this, it gets weirdly satanic. Look, people always like to do they accuse Metallica of being satanic. You have that, right, in music. You have that. But you can clearly see that. That looks like Moloch. I mean, it looks like, the devil eyes. And then later on, you'll see, like up here at the top, it looks like a big, evil bird from hell flying, but that's what the messaging is, is that this is the whole devil worshiping thing. But please notice, from sea to shining sea, what do you see? Wall to wall people for hundreds of yards. There's like 6 football fields, 3 football fields on this side, 3 football fields on this side, wall to wall people. So even if you wanted to get out of there, where the hell would you go? Right? Where would you even go? There's nowhere to go. It's worse than Houston traffic. All right. Oh, that must be, what's that? Oh, commercial.
What the hell is that?
Rick, back in the vehicle! Yes, dealer, move, move, move!
Woo, whoa, yeah.
Okay, so it gets pretty crazy with Drake and Travis, and they're putting on a show. And to be fair, in terms of like rap, it didn't get too raunchy. Drake's a pretty good guy, right? It was pretty, but something happened when Drake left. When the show with the part with Drake was finished, and I don't remember what this.
Hold on, wait. Everybody stand still for a second. We gotta do this together. Y'all ready? Look. Oh my fucking God. She's in love with who I am.
Back in high school,
I used to bust and tell her. Nah.
So you can see, I just walked you through about an hour. Okay, so Drake gets all finished and he says, great show. Look at that. Look at those people. Where would you go? Tell me that they were at 50,000 capacity. You see that little dot, that little teeny tiny little dot right there? That's Travis. No, I'm sorry, wrong dot. That little dot right there. That's Travis. Does that give you perspective on the number of people that were there? Okay, now then. So that's where things went wrong. When Drake finished, right? When Drake finished and got off the stage, during the show with Drake and Travis, that the people started getting sick. People were passing out, no heartbeat, and nobody knew what was happening. And in fact, many of the people that were in cardiac arrest were actually not in all of the big crowd that was pushing forward. They were actually back away. So what made them sick? What made them... You got 9 or 10 people in ICU units around Houston that are hypoxic. They didn't have any oxygen to their brain. So what happened? Why? Was it really all trampling? There was trampling because you've got 30 people. That's an estimate. There's 30 people with broken bones and internal injuries that got stepped on and whatnot. So that did happen. But to have like 15 people hypoxic, where they quit breathing, they had a heart attack and quit breathing, 15? How? And who knows the answer? I don't know. Now then, the title of this is Travis Scott sings over the body of a fan. That's the truth. Travis Scott sings while a fan is dragged out, and here's the full context. Because Travis has begun telling people, I didn't see it, I couldn't see it. This video proves not only did he see it, he was serenading the dead body as they were walking it out. it also gives you perspective that when they were removing this body, people were not pushing. It's very weird. Watch. Oh, but he said he couldn't see. The fans are not pushing. It's all happening on the bottom right. They are not out of control. These people are not pushing. And it's like he's chanting. All right. It's a terrible situation. It's a terrible thing that took place. Um oh, goodness. Okay. I wonder why it didn't attach. Let me go back. Sorry about that. All right. So here's yep. Okay. So Travis Scott sings while Finn gets dragged out. Full context, right? So that's why this is such an important video, because he's claiming he didn't know anybody was hurt. He didn't know anybody was sick. That's what he's claiming. This part of the show has happened after Drake finished and left, and now he's come up and things are kind of like quieting down, and whatnot. Supposedly this is when people have been hurt, right? But that's not really true. It really started happening while Drake was still on the stage.
Just play it slowly. We need somebody to help him. Somebody passed out right here.
Okay, well, clearly he can see. So I don't know how Travis thinks he's getting away telling people he couldn't see what was going on. He didn't know that anybody was hurt because he's the one saying, hey, we got somebody down over here. So how does he now think that he's going to go back and say, no, I didn't see anything?
Somebody passed out right here. Hold on, don't touch him, don't touch him. Everybody just back up. Security, somebody help jump in real quick. Keep going, just keep it this way.
And the other thing that you notice when you look at this is that the people are not pushing, right? The people are not like pushing and they're pretty still. So I believe what they said, that most of this happened while Drake was on stage and things were so crazy and so out of control. And I think at this point, when he's up on this platform, it's the aftermath. It's after it's all happened, and now they're just trying to get help to the people that are underneath the feet of people. But we can be mad at Travis Scott and all the others, and I think it's terrible the way this all played out, and he should be held responsible. But also, I want to know who are the people that stood on top of those young people. What's wrong with you? You know, a horse will not step on another living creature if they can avoid it. They'll fall down and break a leg trying to avoid stepping on a chicken. But we've got human beings willing to walk over the top of other people. A 14-year-old kid, young women, 20-year-old women. It's crazy.
Somebody jump in. Come on, security, get in there. Let's get in there. Let's get in there. Let's get in there. Let's get in there. Yeah.
It's all right here. See, they're getting them right there.
Standing in the ocean.
So, the denials and such it can be made, but there's so much film and people recorded both in the crowd and on top of the crowd, and he's not getting out of this. There's no way he's going to be able to get out of this. And when Bati died, that was number 9, the young woman, the young high school girl. When she died, I believe that served the catalyst for Kylie to say that this is finished. I'm out of here now. So she did pack up 3 or 4 what are the Silverado, they loaded them up in the middle of the night, she and the baby and a couple of people, and they drove to the private airport at the Intercontinental. And when they left, Travis Scott was wandering around outside in the yard of his $14 million mansion. So she's gone. She packed up. They said that it looked like she got everything from her house, what she wanted. It was boxes and boxes of things, and she left in the dead of the night, 3-4 o'clock in the morning. So it'll be interesting to watch how it all plays out, but there are now over 100 lawsuits. There are still 8 people in ICU. Hypoxia, it was the main, heart failure or lack of oxygen to the brain. And then a little over 30 with broken, like major bones, like femurs and that kind of thing, or internal injuries that are still not critical, but still receiving medical care in the hospital. So things are very bad. And again, it comes back to that venue where you've got 48 acres. You should really only have 40,000 people there. They sold 50,000 tickets. And then again, like every single year, they broke down the barriers and they just came rolling in. So the place, probably 100,000 people. If 2019 is true, if there was 105,000 people in 2019, why wouldn't it be the same this year? And there was no place for those people to go. With the way they had the stage set up, they created 2 bottlenecks and there was nowhere to go. 6 football fields and bottleneck on each side. There was nowhere to go. It was going to happen no matter what. All right. Christy Blue. They sold 50,000 tickets, right? That is determined, capacity is determined by the fire department. And if you go by the guidelines that Disney uses at Disney World, there really should have only been 40,000 people there because of the size of the venue. But 50,000 tickets were sold, which is more than what Disney would say was safe, right? The problem is, Christy, is that they break down the fence. And so those people know where to break in, and then you just get thousands of kids, young teenagers, that just come pouring into the venue. So it's well over 50,000. In 2019, there was helicopters, and they estimated over 100,000 people that were there in an area that's about 48 acres. So it's a disaster is what it is. And with the problem related to the capacity of the venue and the fact that you've got 3 years in a row, they broke down the fencing, they're going to totally pin that on the city. They're totally going to pin that on the city. I see that. I believe that. So I don't think anybody's going to come out of this unscathed. I think Travis Scott's career is finished. I think he's done. I think that Houston and Harris County will pay a high price financially that will be passed down to the citizens the taxpayers. But if your kid was there, have a talk with your kid and say, what do you think about those people that stood on the tops of people that fell to the ground, who were so crazed to get closer to Travis that they were willing to walk over the backs of people that were down on the ground? Where does that start? That starts by young people living in homes where there are no boundaries. That's where it starts. All right, everybody. And remember, Kylie, she's long gone. Kylie has left the building. Travis is alone in his big old mansion. All right. Y'all have a good evening. I hope you have a really great week. And I'll see y'all next weekend. Talk to you later. Bye.